It was must-see TV. Not only Donald Trump, but most of the Trump family, sitting down with 60 Minutes only days after the huge election win. He did reveal a realization of the enormous task ahead of him.
It is so big. It is so, it's so enormous. It's so amazing.
Kind of just took your breath away. Couldn't talk.
A little bit. And I think I realized that this is a whole different life for me now.
Trump said he had pleasant conversations with both Hillary and Bill Clinton after the election. So does he regret the nasty tone of the campaign?
I can't regret. No, I wish it were softer. I wish it were nicer. I wish maybe even it was more in policy or whatever you want to say. But I will say that it really is something that I'm very proud of. I mean, it was a tremendous campaign.
Leslie Stahl also asked the president-elect what type of Supreme Court justices he would like to appoint.
They'll be pro-life. They'll be, in terms of the whole gun situation, we know the Second Amendment, and everybody's talking about the Second Amendment, and they're trying to dice it up and change it. They're going to be very pro-Second Amendment.
He says many of the protesters who have taken to the streets are professional demonstrators.
It's been nearly a week since Donald Trump won the presidency, and the protests have gone on for days now.
Yeah, their message has certainly been heard. So what's next, we ask?
Well, Pat and Paul, hundreds of students walked off this campus today. They marched for about 3 hours, and many of them tell us they still have a lot left in their tank.
We're here to show that we're here to work together.
17-year-old Carla Alvarado says she's been part of 2 demonstrations in the past week since the election of Donald Trump as president.
I definitely think they're going to keep going on, especially the day that he does his inaugural speech.
Groups like the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles predicts we can expect to see more demonstrations between now and January 20th. But the head of Chirla doesn't want undocumented families to panic at the threat of deportation made during the presidential campaign by Donald Trump.
Stay calm and to really proceed with information, because that is the best way to protect our families.
The LAPD says it's ready for more demonstrations in the days ahead.
On Friday, January 20th, 2017, Donald Trump will be inaugurated as President of the United States. We call on all people of good conscience to join in disrupting the ceremonies. If Trump is to be inaugurated at all, let it happen behind closed doors, showing the true face of the security state Trump will preside over. It must be made clear to the whole world that the vast majority of people in the United States do not support his presidency or consent to his rule. Trump stands for tyranny, greed, and misogyny. He is the champion of neo-Nazis and white nationalists, of the police who kill the black, brown and poor on a daily basis, of racist border agents and sadistic prison guards, of the FBI and NSA who tap your phone and read your email. He is the harbinger of even more climate catastrophe, deportation, discrimination, and endless war. He continues to deny the existence of climate change, in spite of all the evidence, putting the future of the whole human race at stake. The KKK, Vladimir Putin, Golden Dawn, and the Islamic State all cheered his victory. If we let his inauguration go unchallenged, we are opening the door to the future they envision. Trump's success confirms the bankruptcy of representative democracy. Rather than using the democratic process as an alibi for inaction, we must show that no election could legitimize his agenda. Neither the Democrats nor any other political party or politician will save us. They just offer a weaker version of the same thing. If there is going to be positive change in this society, we have to make it ourselves, together, through direct action. From day one, the Trump presidency will be a disaster. Disrupt J20 will be the start of the resistance. We must take to the streets and protest, blockade, disrupt, intervene, sit in, walk out, rise up, and make more noise and good trouble than the establishment can bear. The parade must be stopped. We must delegitimize Trump and all he represents. It's time to defend ourselves, our loved ones, and the world that sustains us as if our lives depend on it. Because they do. Thousands will converge and demonstrate resistance to the Trump regime. Save the date. Our allegiance is not to making America great again, but to all of humanity and the planet. Spread the word. Join the fight. Disrupt J20.
George Soros and his fellow liberal megadonors are currently readying the post-Hillary Clinton Democratic Party to oppose President-elect Donald Trump. According to Politico, Soros and other key members of the so-called Democracy Alliance met in Washington, D.C. at the Mandarin Oriental Hotel on Sunday for the first day of the group's 3-day investment conference. The Democracy Alliance has funneled upwards of $500 million toward liberal activist groups and candidates since Soros co-founded the group in 2005. DA requires all members, which in 2016 includes more than 100 finance titans, to donate at least $200,000 a year to approved activist groups. But the issues the DA and DNC traditionally use to mobilize liberal voters, like climate change, failed to pull white working-class support away from Trump and the GOP, which, as one Democrat operative put, should call into question the DA itself. Therefore, at this year's meeting, Soros and other liberal leaders will discuss opposing Trump's plan for his first 100 days in office.
It's going to be the ultimate hideaway for doomsday preppers, a 5-star, $300 million luxury development under construction in the North Texas town of Ector.
60 miles north of Dallas, far away from the constant roar of traffic, there's something going up in rural Fannin County that's still generating buzz. Developers call it Trident Lakes.
It's going to be one of America's most fun, most plush, but also one of its safest neighborhoods. It's going to be a 5-star resort with DEFCON preparedness.
This 50-foot solid marble statue and fountain being built offers a peek of what's to come, where developers lure potential residents who may have a bunker mentality, yet still enjoy the lap of luxury. Amenities include a golf course, equestrian center, spa, gun ranges, stores, and restaurants.
Is this a resort or a bunker?
Yes.
In this prairie, underground, earth-covered condos will be built with above-ground terraces, overlooking lagoons and white sand beaches.
Planners say the underground luxury condominiums will also be connected by a series of tunnels that will lead to a larger gathering space.
Aside from food, developers say the community will feature off-the-grid sources of energy and water, so people can live safely underground.
You lower your air blast lock doors, and you're safe from the dangers.
Witt says starting prices may be $500,000. The first phase is invitation only, mostly for athletes and celebrities. Phase 2 is for everyone else, and there's already a waiting list.
Chinese President Xi Jinping tells Donald Trump that cooperation is the only choice for relations between the world's largest economies. Trump claims the two have established a clear sense of mutual respect. In a telephone call on Monday, President Xi reportedly told Trump that there were many areas where China and the U.S. could cooperate. Donald Trump's campaign has sparked uncertainty into relations after vowing to slap 45% tariffs on Chinese imports. The president-elect also pledged to label the country a currency manipulator on his first day in office. The bottom line, China's leader ready to work together.
Millions of people take over Manhattan for the annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. But this year it comes with an ominous warning. A new ISIS magazine calling it, quote, an excellent target. The latest edition of Rumaya magazine includes pictures of the beloved New York City event. It also graphically describes the best way to kill the most people by using large load-bearing trucks. Quote, a vehicle is plunged at a high speed into a large congregation of unbelievers, leaving behind a trail of carnage.
We plan every major event the way the police department has always planned them, which is for traffic and crowds, but today in a way that's different from the way they were always planned, which is with a complex counterterrorism overlay.
Late this afternoon, the NYPD tried to calm fears about the parade. Last year, they beefed up security since the event came just a few weeks after the terror attacks in Paris. The magazine says the vehicle attack was superbly demonstrated earlier this year in Nice, France, where 86 people died. In addition to specifically mentioning the Thanksgiving Day parade, it also suggests other more general targets like pedestrian congested streets, outdoor markets, and political rallies. The NYPD says it has visited more than 130 places that rent trucks, like the truck that was used in the attack in Nice. They say they've been offering guidance to employees on what to look for in terms of any potential terrorist suspects.
The Associated Press posted an update on the continuing controversy surrounding the $3.8 billion Dakota Access oil pipeline. In an email to the Associated Press, the company building the oil pipeline, Energy Transfer Partners, said Monday that it expects to finish construction by December 1st. This, of course, does not include the disputed section in North Dakota, but the company said it could begin moving crude early next year if the government gives final approval. Additionally, the company outlined specifics in the email, saying it would finish the pipeline within 120 days of getting approval for an easement beneath Lake Oahe, a Missouri River reservoir in southern North Dakota.
We've learned about an abandoned mercury mine near the Russian River, highly toxic and forgotten until now. After we started looking into it, the Water Board started investigating if it's poisoning the creek and the fish people eat. Only on 5 tonight, Juliette Goodrich asked, why hasn't anyone cleaned it up?
When it rains in Guerneville, people keep a close watch on the Russian River. Rising waters can flood the town. But just upstream, there is another threat when it rains. Found in the large piles of red dirt bordering a creek that runs into the river. This is the Mount Jackson mine, one of the largest mercury mines in California. It closed in the early 1970s after operating for more than a century. The mine owners are long gone, but large piles of dirt and rock remain. Dan McInhill is with Russian Riverkeeper.
When you're under 18, 20 years old, your brain is developing, and mercury retards that development.
Russian Riverkeeper did their own small test of striped bass in the river 10 years ago. All the fish had mercury levels well over the EPA limit, but the state has not posted any warnings along the river.
Studies have shown that eating contaminated fish poses a significant health risk.
Eating fish with mercury that was a half a part per million a couple times a week for a month, you could measurably reduce your IQ.
It turns out that more than a decade after the mine closed, the U.S. EPA put Mount Jackson on their Superfund list and then did nothing about it.
Concerns in the town of Newburgh after potentially cancer-causing chemicals were found in the water. Now thousands of people are being told to get tested.
Residents in the city of Newburgh in the Hudson Valley are being told to have their blood tested after long-held fears by some that their tap water may have been exposed to a chemical reportedly linked to cancer.
It's terrible what's happened to the water. Matter of fact, I was just coming to get filtered, specially treated water from the doctor over here.
New York State officials have launched a comprehensive effort offering blood tests to Newburgh's 28,000 residents after high levels of PFOs, or perfluorooctane sulfites, a chemical used for firefighting at a nearby Air Force base, were found in the city's drinking water, exceeding federal guidelines.
Somebody's contaminated it. Once us get poisoned or whatever, that's something you have to drink, and you can't avoid that.
It is a scary scenario for many who live here who've had concerns about contamination here since a state of emergency was issued back in May after the chemical was found in the water. The city shifted to a new water source, but the worries here continue to linger.
Dead fish as far as the eye can see.
There are thousands and thousands of them down there.
The site forced many to do a double take.
I thought it was frosted in the morning.
Many couldn't believe what they were seeing and smelling, lining up to watch and take pictures.
First time I've seen this in my whole life.
They're not just floating on top of the water, they're actually stepping from the bottom up.
The bunker fish were in the Shinnecock Canal this morning, but then the locks were opened and out they went into the bay.
They're all dead up on the beach and in the water behind the building.
I actually talked to a couple of DEC officers today. They said they'd never seen it bad before.
The DEC, or State Department of Environmental Conservation, says it's investigating. Local experts believe they know the cause.
There was a large school of big bluefish in the bay earlier on Sunday. I had a bunch of friends catching fish that were 15 to 20 pounds, and bluefish eat bunker. And they chase the bunker, and then they chase them into a canal like this, and the locks are closed, the fish can't escape, and when they get pushed in the numbers of millions, they quickly deplete the oxygen.
So now, a free meal for a lot of young birds who prey on bunker, and an early gift for some fishermen.
Bay scallops, the tiny, tender delicacies with a short harvesting season, are just about nowhere to be found.
Now, East End diggers, fishermen, and seafood lovers are all asking, what's going on?
Delectable bay scallops won't be on too many restaurant menus this year. tastes like candy. Prices are expected to skyrocket, $38 a pound or more, 30% higher than last year. The vulnerable season is short.
Once Labor Day comes, it quiets down, so we kind of need the boost from the scallops because everybody's looking for them.
Commercial fishermen with dredger nets say they can't break even, and now recreational harvesters are giving up.
I dive for my scallops, so we were in the water for an hour. I got about 30 scallops.
Most years, Chris Paparo pulls in an entire bushel, 4 pounds of scallop meat in less than 30 minutes. Experts at Stony Brook School of Marine and Atmospheric Sciences have been studying the effects of record-high summer heat, toxic tides, nitrogen, and algae blooms on sensitive shellfish.
People did surveys in the beginning of the summer, and there were plenty of scallops out there. But between the very hot summer and then the rust tide, they came back in the early fall, and there was nothing but shell.
Baptist Church has voted to accept the LGBT community, putting them actually at odds now with many in their denomination.
Our Jeff Paul live tonight in Northeast Dallas to explain.
Well, Doug and Kaylee, members here, 61% of them here at Wilshire Baptist Church voted to allow those LGBT members to do things like get married, baptized, and become church leaders. But now that decision could lead to the expulsion of this church from the guiding body that oversees Texas Baptist churches.
Should we choose to publicly affirm same-sex sexual behavior?
A 14-month process, one vote, and a 2-page warning letter that could sever a long-standing and historical religious relationship.
I will tell you, this is the most difficult conversation I've ever experienced.
Pastor Mark Wingfield at Wilshire Baptist Church says he recognizes nearly 40% of his congregation isn't happy about allowing LGBT members to fully participate. He says it wasn't one member or incident that sparked the exhaustive research and vote. It was the changing times.
And congregations that think they're not going to deal with it are living in a bubble that's going to burst.
The Baptist General Convention of Texas wasn't pleased with the idea and tried to put an end to it last week by telling Wilshire it was on notice. Tonight, the guiding body issued a statement saying, Texas Baptists have a long-standing and often reaffirmed biblical position on human sexuality and marriage. We're saddened by the outcome of Wilshire's vote and their withdrawal from the harmonious cooperation with the churches of the convention. Wingfield says he wants the decision not to be about who's excluded, but who's included.
I want to open our arms to as many people as possible and say, you're welcome here.
There have been a flood of donations pouring in to Planned Parenthood since the election of Donald Trump and his running mate Mike Pence. In response to Pence's firm stance against women's reproductive rights and forcing many Planned Parenthood clinics to close in his home state of Indiana, women across the nation are donating to the women's organization in his name to fight back. In a new effort, many women are sharing Pence's office address in Indiana via social media and encouraging fellow donors to make their gifts in his honor. As a result, the Vice President-elect's office will receive mail that notifies him about every donation made in his name to the organization.